If your best friend came up to you and said, I need help dramatically changing my social life, you could probably come up with some obvious solutions right away. Maybe change your schedule, work less, you could focus on drinking less, you could get a new hairdo, you could change your diet, you could work on your body, you could lose weight, you could gain weight, you could try entirely new drugs. Hell, you could completely change your personality. They might listen to you, they might not. Those are some big changes to suggest. And, in this hypothetical, those are things they asked for. But what if that wasn't your friend, and what if those changes weren't solicited? Because that's essentially what cancer does to your social life. I should know, I've opted into the glamorous social life of getting cancer twice, and let me tell you, it disrupts your systems whether you like it or not. Also, if we're not friends, I'd like to become friends because my name is Mike Lynn and I'm a stage 4 metastatic melanoma patient who makes these videos to help cancer patients and their loved ones around difficult discussions that don't get brought up in clinical senses. Your social life is definitely one of those, and there is a lot of nuance to it, so let's dive into how cancer can affect your social life. I'm going to stay on brand and start with one of the most obvious ways that cancer can affect your social life, and that is by hampering your physical health. Many cancer diagnoses require treatment, surgery, intensive procedures, and a lot of these things can leave you feeling drained. I know that when I feel sick, whether it's from cancer treatment or otherwise, all I want to do is sleep and coddle myself, and I really don't want to see people. I did 2 different types of immunotherapy spanned over the last 5 years. I did Opdivo, and then I did a mix of Opdivo and Yervoy, which are immunotherapies, and there were certainly days in which they left me feeling blasted and I just had to sleep. And certainly, that's the lighter version of treatment. There's chemo, there's radiation, like I said, there's all sorts of surgeries, which I also had as well, and a lot of these things just make it so you physically cannot or don't want to hang out. The next way that cancer affects your social life feels even more unfair and less controllable than your physical health declining, which isn't even in your control to begin with, and that is the way your friends and family react to hearing about cancer. Cancer is unquestionably an uncomfortable topic for many, if not most people, and I'm not just basing that on my own 2 diagnoses. This is coming from talking with hundreds, if not thousands, of other cancer patients, both in real life and online, who have confirmed that people get kind of weird when they hear about a diagnosis. And I don't blame anyone. If you heard that one of your friends or loved ones had been diagnosed with a life-threatening disease, you probably wouldn't know what to do if you hadn't encountered it before. Even if someone has a lot of experience dealing with a systemic trauma like this, what are they really supposed to say? The reality is that you end up with a lot of awkward expressions like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, or someone saying, what can I do to help, when there's really no plan behind it, or in some cases, people just get freaked out and ghost you, which, again, I get it, but it's not very fun being the person on the receiving end of being ghosted like that. The third way in which cancer affects your social life is through stress. Now, stress is undoubtedly terrible for you, I think we can all agree on that, and stress manifests itself in a lot of different ways depending on who you are. I know for me, I personally become much more introverted when I'm stressed, which is a huge departure from my normal personality, as I'm an extreme extrovert, kind of as evidenced by me broadcasting my entire life to the internet like this. But the other way in which cancer stress manifests is because, let's go back to the last point I made, which is, people reaching out to see how you are, people saying, do you need anything, people consistently checking in on your health. That's a very nice thing for them to do. But at the same time, if you're answering, multiple calls, multiple texts, emails, whatever it is that you're doing to update your friends and family, that's a lot of social interaction, and ultimately that just drains your bandwidth. So at the end of the day, you're sitting there going, man, I have just talked to so many people today, I just want to sit here and rest. And so it decreases your actual social interactions that you would have had prior to having cancer. Stress is such a shitty thing that it can even be a contributor to or a byproduct of, your mental health declining. And when you have cancer, believe me, there are many ways that can happen, whether it's depression or anxiety or, kind of this feeling that your identity has changed, which is a very common thing among cancer patients. But regardless, all of these stressors contribute to you feeling as though you aren't worthy of socialization, or that maybe people are viewing you in a different light. And they all kind of chip away at your ability to feel like a normal social human being. And that's tied directly to the fourth way in which cancer can affect your social life, which is a change in your identity or your personality. And I always want to give a brief disclaimer when I talk about these big topics. There are some people who don't feel this way. There are some people who don't have, their physical appearance change, or their friends don't change, or they don't change from a systematic way in which they approach life. That wasn't possible for me, and for the most part, I don't think it's possible for cancer patients who are seriously affected. If you have managed to escape that, we should applaud you for that. That's incredible. You've shown a lot of resolve, and I think it's kind of lucky. But for most people, when you get something that is this threatening, you feel different. And I don't know how to explain it. It's like you are having this kind of like out of body experience. You're watching yourself go through this huge trauma, and you're watching everyone act differently around you, and you're watching a lot of the components of your life change, from your ability to work, your ability to go out, your ability to kind of value yourself. You know, it's weird to look at yourself as a sick person, and I definitely went through that a couple times when I was sitting there and saying, so much of my life is being defined by being a stage 3, stage 4, just cancer patient blanketedly. And then in social situations, I began to wonder a little bit. You know, it makes you think, are my friends or my family or even people that I'm dating, you know, are they treating me different out of sympathy or pity? Or do they make sure they're including me only because they'd be assholes not to for the guy with cancer? And the reality is that most of the time people are trying to treat you the same way. People are generally good-hearted, and I don't think cancer is as like strange as it feels to you, because you're the center of your own world. Everyone else, you know, they're cognizant of what's going on and they're trying to be helpful, but I don't think they're making all of their decisions based on your cancer diagnosis. But I know for me, it took a lot to get over that thought process, and it really hampered my ability to be social for a long, long time. It's not all doom and gloom, though. There actually is a way in which cancer can change your social life for the better, and that is through prioritization of what matters to you and kind of showing you who's willing to show up for you. And maybe this is a referendum on how lucky I am in my personal life, but I've had to go through this twice, and it's really, really been apparent to me like what I needed to keep in my social life and who was there for it. For example, this weekend I'm going to a reunion with 10 of my closest friends in the world. These guys are like brothers to me. One of them actually is my brother. He's definitely like a brother to me. And these guys were there for me every second of the way. And it doesn't mean that it was, you know, perfect or smooth all the time. I was 30 when I was diagnosed for the first time, and none of us knew what the fuck to do. But we worked, we adapted, we're human, we worked with what's put in front of us, and it mattered so much to me. And similarly, you know, my parents and my extended family and the community around me in San Luis Obispo and online, I saw people who were willing to go the extra mile, or who were willing to just say, how can I do it? Tell me how I can help, even if there weren't readily apparent answers. So all of a sudden, there are these positives that are coming out of these diagnoses, even if I would never wish it on myself or someone else. But like I said, there is optimism to be had, and that's what I want to portray in these videos. It can be bad, it will be bad, your social life might change, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel for many of us if we're fortunate enough to get there. Now, one component of cancer affecting your social life that I didn't talk about today is how cancer affects your dating life, because I feel like that's its own animal and I want to dedicate an entirely different video to it. However, if you're still sticking around right now and you've given me your time for this long, I really do appreciate it, and I would also ask that you drop a like and a subscribe, as it helps me grow the channel to connect with other cancer patients and their loved ones. That's all I've got today, but it makes me feel truly amazing that I get to make these videos all the time, so thank you very much for that, and I'll see you next episode. Bye!